Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bayou Mortgage Guy podcast. I am your host, Ben Nyhart, aka the Bayou Mortgage Guy, and I am super excited to bring you another episode. This week, we are super excited to have someone outside of the real estate realm, a guy that I'm super excited to have on that, just is one of my favorite artists, which, I don't have very many favorite artists, but this guy's definitely at the top of the list. So I'm super excited to have Jordan Spector of Spector Art. Is that right? Am I good doing that correctly? Or
Spector Sports Art is my company. Yeah,
Spector Sports Art. So, dude, I am super excited to have you on. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on and just chat with us a little bit, dude. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and yeah, man, you go with it.
absolutely. Well, I appreciate the intro. Yeah, I'm a self-taught artist, I'd say. I didn't go to school for art or anything like that, but I've been creating art my entire life. As the cliche saying goes, since the age I could pick up a pencil, I've been creating art. But I never knew that it was going to become a career for me. I also played football, which was really my passion growing up, along with art, but art was just a hobby. And I ended up being a walk-on at Temple University, a Division I school in Philly. And that was an amazing experience for me. And it got cut short by injury, unfortunately, which led me back to art. But this time when I started creating art, it was of sports, it was of football. And luckily I had connections with guys I played with that are now in the NFL still, like Hassan Reddick, Deion Dawkins, Robbie Anderson. A lot of guys from that team made it that far, and that really kickstarted my art career working with them and basically, by accident, tying together my two passions of football, sports, and art. And now, this is 7, 8 years ago. Now it's what I do full time. I have a whole business doing this, and it's been a fun ride getting to this point. So
Yeah, dude, that's definitely as I was kind of I heard about you back in 2019, and that was because you were on a local radio station where I was living at the time in Baton Rouge, and they were talking about this guy that did some paintings. I'm like, all right, this is interesting, So I'm driving in my car at the time, and I didn't know who they were talking about. So when I finally made it home and I started checking out like the art that they were talking about, you were painting LSU guys, and that's kind of a weird thing for a guy from Philly to be painting. And I wasn't planning on starting with this, but it was just an easy transition. So how did a guy from Philly ended up like start painting, guys from LSU, and then that's kind of turned into like more than one. Like you started doing more and more LSU stuff. So how did that start? Like,
yeah, man. So that was an incredible journey for me. So fun fact that I actually don't put this out there that much, but I also went to school for physical therapy. So I have a doctorate in physical therapy. That was my educational route, and I never gave that up because as I was in school was when I continued to grow my art business and just continue doing more and more work. It's also how I supported myself. It was enough to still do that while going to school. And of course, lo and behold, as soon as school was done in 2019, things really started to take off. I already had some great opportunities building, but of course, school's done, and I put this much more time into it. Now it takes off, and up until that point, what I had been creating was a lot of Philly sports artwork. Not all, but like that's still the majority of what I do a lot. I'm a Philly sports fan. I'm a Philly guy, and going into that college football season and then into 2020. I had a lot of people telling me to do this, and I also wanted to do this myself, but just expand in general to not only create art of the teams that I love, but just of players that I enjoy watching. And, the love of the game, I guess I could say, is a really good theme that you could put behind this. But like a lot of the work I do, like it's not going to come out good unless I'm passionate about it or if I can find something about that subject matter that piques my interest. So that college football season, I was following Joe Burrow, and I thought it was the coolest thing what this guy was doing, the things he was saying, the little nuggets like him during the going into the championship. I think he broke his phone, and like the coach was like, "Oh, we gotta get your phone." He's like, "Nah, I don't need it." Stuff like that. I was like, "Man, who this
yep,
guy's awesome."
yep.
So after the game, still didn't have plans to do a painting of him. I was thinking about like I want to do something cool, but I saw this picture surface of him smoking this cigar on a couch, and man, I had so many people hit me up like, dude, you got to paint this. You got to paint.
Yeah.
You got to create this. So that night, I went to work, and it took me about a week to make this piece of burro smoking a cigar. I always try to make stuff as unique as I can that I haven't seen. So I basically added little nuggets in there, like the championship trophy, the Heisman Trophy, kind of the tiger logo looking thing in the background. And man, that was one of the first projects I did that truly went viral,
Yeah.
truly went absolutely crazy. And I was like, I didn't expect it because one, I didn't really have any fans or customers from the Baton Rouge area, and I just
Right.
didn't know what I had done. I think it was a great combination of nobody had really done it. I did it. I was able to do it pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and it was such an iconic moment still to this day. It just worked, and that led to a crazy slew of opportunities to
Yeah.
connect with Matt Moscona down there and other broadcasters, other individuals, and it led to me taking a whole trip down to Baton Rouge in February, which is when you heard me on the
Yeah.
radio.
Yep.
And I literally had the artwork down there with me and stuff. I flew it down, and it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And that led to me connecting even with the photographer who took like the picture on his phone of that moment
Yeah.
and the Burrow family. Because basically to this day still we donate a portion of all the sales of any print that I sell to the Joe Burrow Fund and another fund in Louisiana. So that was something cool to be able to create with them, and the fact that um, pretty much everybody in Burrow's family has a replica hanging on their wall. His dad,
That's
stuff
neat.
like that. His brothers. So yeah, that's
That's pretty cool, man.
kind of
I got
kind of what happened. Yeah.
And for people that don't know, this is it right here. I can't really figure out how to point to it, but like where the one right behind my head, that's the one you painted right there. And like honestly, dude, that's the one out of all the stuff that I have of LSU paintings, that's the one I get the most compliments on. And I will tell you this, that LSU fans are probably the most loyal, most, I mean, when something comes out and it's LSU related and they go crazy over it, man. And this is I remember when this came out and like when people were, I mean, I had to have one because like I saw my friends getting one. I'm like, no, I gotta have one of these. And it's pretty neat, man, because it's just, I guess you never really expect that to happen whenever you're going in, especially with someone with no ties to Baton Rouge or to LSU. It's just crazy how
Yeah.
things work out that way, you know?
Yeah. So it's one of those things like I did it because I loved who Burrow was as a player. I wasn't
Yeah,
necessarily a LSU fan, but I
right,
do love some SEC football. I do love some good quality college football.
right,
And really ever since that moment, because of how big that got and all these new people exposed to my work and fans of my work, lo
right.
and behold, later that year, somebody commissioned a new painting that was of Burrow and Coach O. And then I was commissioned to do another project and another. And now I have
Yeah,
7 different LSU pieces I've done in the past
crazy.
3 to 4 years. But I don't think anything will ever top the Smoke and Joe. But
No, you can't, man. Can't
um,
do it. You got some good ones, but that's my favorite, dude.
yeah, yeah. So, but it's been cool. It's
Yeah,
created this inner fanhood myself for LSU. I'm always kind of rooting for them, no
yeah,
matter what's going on. I want to see them win, and it's cool to just have these new projects come down the pipeline that can appeal to the people that enjoy my
yeah.
work. So,
Yeah, it's like you said, man. It's crazy how whenever you're doing something, you don't realize what you're actually getting yourself into, and then lo and behold, it just becomes something that you almost become known for. At least in my area, that's for sure. That's your signature painting for us for as LSU fans. But um, you know,
yeah,
you kind of alluded to it earlier. You got injured when you were playing at Temple, and you kind of had to shift. When that happens, as a former athlete myself, I mean, when you do get injured, you're just you're feeling down and out. But I mean, so when you went through that injury and you were kind of trying to figure out what you were going to do next, man, what kind of like mindset shift did you have to make in order to kind of like, all right, well, my playing days are over, but like now I got to focus on life. So what kind of mindset shifts did you use in order to overcome those obstacles?
It was tough, man. Like, especially as a walk-on that I was, I worked so hard to even get to that point, and it worked out. It was like it was a dream come true, literally. Like
Yeah.
there haven't been a lot of kids from my high school who have made it to a D1 program, stuff like that. And it was just
Yeah.
amazing. And when that eventually ended 2 years later, it was like gut check. It was a real heavy hit to my emotions, and really quit because of concussions. That was a big issue of mine that really
Yeah.
scared me, and I didn't want that was the injury I had. I had a fair share of concussions in high school. And it was before like all the concussion stuff came out, all the research, and it's one of those things like now you see all these legal cases of schools that
Right.
got sued in the past because they didn't have proper equipment. It was one of those, right? So I kind of forgot that that was part of the game when I was in college, and eventually got another one. I was honest with the doctor, like, hey, I've had 4 or 5 concussions. Maybe you should walk away. Are you going to make it to the NFL? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Probably
Right.
not. So I had to make that decision. So it was tough. It was super tough, very emotional time for me. And, I eventually, after a couple weeks of just reflecting and gathering myself together, leaned back on the artwork, and I started to get back into that, not only as a therapy of sorts, but just trying to turn the page and trying to turn a negative into a positive. So it's always fun to look back on, and know that I had no idea that it was going to become what it's become. I mean, it was. I feel like I was so different back then, but yeah.
Yeah, no, dude, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, not in the sense I wasn't playing for like a major college program or anything like that, but I can tell you that just whenever you have to like you finally realize, all right, it's time to hang them up, man. Like you're not this, it's your athletic career as far as anything professionally is over. It's just hard to like kind of hang it up and just be like, all right, well, now what? And just figuring that out is just tough, man. So I can totally like relate to that. So I wanted to ask you something a little bit about the way you kind of brand, because I noticed I get targeted a lot by you on Facebook, or not really on Facebook, mostly Instagram. And I love the way like you brand yourself, man. So what was like the basis of like how you built your brand to where it is today? Because I know you said you only started what, like four, like really full time, like 4 or 5 years ago. So take us
Yeah.
from like then until now, like how you built that over time, because you got a pretty nice little following, in terms of your Instagram and your Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So talk to us about branding, how you got to this point.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I think I even told you, I've been wanting to start my own podcast, even
Yeah.
to put some of this free game out there. I've helped quite a few artists and just friends of mine that are looking to start a business or are artists themselves, to just like where to start. What do I do first? Where do I go? And the biggest thing that I can tell anybody, and a lot of people don't like to hear it, a lot of people don't like to do it, but you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent with whatever you're doing. It's a grind. There's not a lot of stuff in this world that comes easy, and that's how it's been for me to this day. To this day, it's a grind.
Yeah.
It's a grind that you have to be willing to do and enjoy, right? Like, if you're an artist and you start to do the business side of it and you don't enjoy it, like, it might not be for you. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't expect every artist to want to actually like make it a career, or sell their art, because it can be tough. It can be brutal. And if you don't have that business mindset, like, I didn't have that initially. I just learned. I learned as I went, and I had the competitiveness from football, and I had that drive. And I think that always will help me with whatever I'm trying to do. But I learned as I went, and now when it comes to marketing and building that up, it was just that consistency of building the social media pages, being unique and as genuine as I can be with whatever I'm doing, building connections, putting myself out there, doing events like, I'm sure in your area too, in the Philadelphia area, we have a lot of outdoor art festivals, events,
Mhm.
especially in the
Yep.
summertime, that we still do to this year. And I say we because I have a team of guys that if I'm not able to be there, they're working for me. They're running an event. We have a whole kind of kit for events where there's a tent, there's a table, there's prints in a bin, there's canvases, that type of thing. And that's really where it starts. And then, you start to get your feet wet. You start to get that market approval that, hey,
Hmm.
people will buy your work. People are
Yeah.
buying this one, they're buying that one. So like that's almost the first step for any artist or any brand is like you got to get that market approval that it's going to sell because it's brutal, but like if it's not going to sell, it's not going to sell. So like you need
Right.
to like even to this day, new artwork I put out, I don't know if people are going to buy it. I
Yeah.
have an indication if they will, but I don't know, you know.
Right.
So until it actually happens, I can't have that market approval. So that's a big part of it. And something that changed the game for me in 2020 was when I first started to get into paid advertising. Up until that point, it was a lot of organic stuff. And
Yeah.
some I ended up connecting with somebody at that time who had a background in paid advertising. So he started running ads for me. We started doing it. And I think it was great timing with the Burrow project too,
Yeah.
because we put some ads behind that and that started to
Right.
scale. And you know, so ever since 2020, I've learned and improved and made the paid advertising system more and more efficient.
Yeah.
So I have like a guy who I pay monthly who helps run like Facebook, Instagram ads. We meet every
Yeah.
week and go through new stuff we're running, stuff that's not working, stuff that we should try out. And then I have a team, like a bigger company that manages like a Google account for me. So there's Google advertising that they do. And then always trying to improve my website, make that, you know, up to date, SEO friendly, stuff like that. Email marketing, text message marketing, very powerful stuff. Um, so it all those things tie into one system. It's like a big
Yeah.
hub. When everything's kind of firing at once, it can really create a lot of success for any
Yeah.
business. Like, and this stuff like definitely is not only applicable to an art business. It's applicable
Right.
to so many businesses. A lot of those different tools and tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so the key and this is just what we're talking about. Like, this is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, not just because you're successful in the art world, but we can relate that back to what, I do, or what the real estate industry does, because it's really about consistency, right? And you're uber consistent. I'm gonna tell you, I get targeted all the time. I get your text messages, and I mean, like, it's pretty regular, man. And like, I see your stuff all the time, and I'm tempted to buy something, man. I'm like looking on them like, man, I really wanted that Jordan Cruise sign one. My wife told me no, unfortunately. But but that's the thing, is being consistent is the key to basically being successful in any business. And I think that's one thing we can just kind of merge that together with the way our businesses are kind of structured. So
Mm.
man, tell me, look, I can kind of go in a couple different directions here, but I wanted to just kind of switch a little bit to kind of personal development. Like, what do you like? I know there had to be some times where you were maybe thinking, or maybe there wasn't. Maybe you were just superhuman, like crazy. But like, there might have been a time where you just kind of like, man, is this for me? Like, am I really? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And like, how did, if you did, like, if it was challenge, if there was a challenge that you had, how did you overcome that? Like, by staying motivated, staying focused in the times that you got challenged? Because I mean, I know, like, my day-to-day business is not necessarily, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, so I know that maybe you've gone through some tough times, and like maybe how you got through them and that kind of thing.
Yeah, man. I think it's a great question because I always say to this day still, like every year has gotten better and better. There's more artwork I'm making, there's more products available, there's more reach with marketing. And but I never know what's coming next month. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like I cannot guarantee anything's going to sell next month until it happens. Like I have a little bit of an expectation. How we did last year this time of year. Whatever's going on in the sports world, whatever I'm
Right.
doing. But like it's all kind of up in the air. Like you
Yeah.
never know. So I don't let that affect me, but I think it does help motivate me a little bit to just stay on my game and just be consistent, like I brought up. And there's been plenty of times too where it's been a downtime. It's been a rough month or whatever the case is. And I think the ways that I cope with that are just sticking to what I know how to do, sticking to what I
Yeah.
can control. I think that's what it comes down to. Sticking to what you can control, not focusing on what you can't control. And another thing, especially like when it comes to being a creative, or an artist is not getting caught up and focusing on what other people are doing, the
Mm,
success that other people are having, and getting caught in that trap, right? Because that can really screw you up. And it happens to me sometimes too. You know what I mean?
yep.
To this day. And it's, you got to be careful with that, not get sucked down that hole and just focus on what you can control.
Yeah, dude, that's money right there. Like that's one thing I know for sure that I get caught in doing all the time. Like, oh, this other loan officer is doing this and this. But what people don't realize is that, or maybe they do, and they just don't realize it in the moment, is that like when you're going on social media and you're looking at other people's, you're looking at their best. Like that's their stuff, but you don't see the struggles that lead up to that. And I think that's what a lot of people
Mm,
don't understand in that moment. Like, man, Jordan's doing really well right now, but what happened? How did he get there? Like he had, like you struggled to get to where you were, like just like everybody else that's successful.
exactly, man.
Not such a good, but dude, all right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a couple more things. One, like, I obviously I know your work really well, and I follow you on all the social media stuff. So I see some of the stuff that you've done, and I'm like, dude, he got to meet, Brian Dawkins. You did like a podcast with Brian Dawkins. You did Edie earlier this year. You obviously Joe Burrow. So which one's your favorite, man? Like tell me like the interaction that you've had with an athlete that you've gotten to paint over the years.
Oh man, get that question all the time.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
My what's my favorite project?
Yeah, what your favorite project, favorite story? I mean, it could be any number of things, man. Like if you have like a story of like whenever, or just whatever project you thought was the best, or just a really cool story from one of your projects.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorites now for sure is this first trading card I did with Brian Dawkins. Just and the whole story behind that, that's probably one of the coolest. Is that growing up, I was a huge Eagles fan, Brian Dawkins
Mhm.
fan. If you're an Eagles fan or you're from Philly, B Doc is number one, at least in my
Right.
my era of when I grew up. That team of B Doc, Jeremiah Trotter, Westbrook. B Doc was, I never like to say idolized, but he was like an inspiration to me. He
Yeah.
was one of the reasons that I decided to play football because I thought he was so cool. I'm like this guy is a superhuman. Like I want to be like this dude. Like
Yeah.
when I was a kid. Um, and it's so cool, that all these years later now that's come full circle. Now like I had a full on partnership with Brian, and I support his foundation a lot through my business, and
Yeah.
just being able to work with him, get know him as a person, and do first ever project like this that nobody has really done. Is really cool. Actually, I have a card sitting here on my desk. There's a
Yeah.
box. I have a card inside it. So but it was special, and I've done a couple projects with him, but this was definitely the most grandiose doing this trading card. Yeah, so that's probably one of the coolest.
Yeah. I can tell you, man, just based on the clips that I saw, and he just seems like a really just down to earth dude. And like, I mean, I don't know, dude. Like y'all, it just seemed like he was just really just easy to talk to, just kind of like really cool, just very down to earth. Which, I mean, as for a guy of that stature, I mean, come on, man. Like that's not. I don't think that's it's pretty rare, I would think.
Yeah, yeah, and he in some instances he'll kind of like have that like mentorship, father like tone or advice, which
Yeah,
is always cool. I mean, because his son is a couple years younger than me.
yeah,
So but yeah, he just always has good things to say. Like everything he says is like meaningful.
yeah.
Like
You
he's a
like,
really good
yeah,
speaker. Yeah, everybody listens to what B Doc has to say, and
yeah.
he's the man. He's the man.
That is, yeah, that's cool, man. He does. He got that really fatherly figure, kind of stature to him, man. Where I would like, if he's talking, I'm listening for sure. All right,
Yeah.
dude. So tell us what's next, man. What's going on? What you got work in the works for Spector Sports, man?
Well, yesterday I just launched kind of the second wave of this project I did with a company called Round 21 and the NFLPA. It's a piece of the Kelsey brothers. They certainly know how to stay relevant and popular. And this is a project we did. So right now, until the day of the Super Bowl at like 6 p.m., we have
Mhm.
a limited edition print canvas options that people can buy. That's my latest release. And right now I'm working on my next trading card with Brandon Graham, who plays on the Eagles. He's
Yep.
a legend in Philly. Had the infamous Tom Brady sack in Super Bowl 52. So I'm working on that. I'm working on a third trading card with a UFC fighter as well. What else am I working on? I've been playing with some different ideas of a next project I want to do, like a personal
Yeah.
project. You won't like this, but I've been considering doing a painting of Nick Saban. Um, Legend
Oh,
right
all
there.
right.
What else? I actually you probably saw the Jaden Daniels one I did
I
recently.
did, man. I love that one.
Yeah, he actually reached out to me because first comment is like, oh, like I need that, like I want that, so
Right.
I communicated with him a little bit, haven't heard back yet, but I essentially would love to link with him and get him
Yeah.
that piece. And I think it'd be really cool to do a trading card with Jane Daniels going into the
Yeah.
draft, like do something really cool. And
Yeah.
I haven't done, I mean, I've only done one trading card, but it'd be cool. I've done these LSU paintings and things like that, but it'd be cool to do a trading card. I think people would really enjoy that. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, too, a little nugget. Haven't put this out there yet either, but I've even thought about seeing if there's a way we could do the Smoke and Joe as a trading card,
Ooh, yeah.
which would be pretty cool.
That would be
And if
pretty
I could
neat.
somehow get some signed by him, that'd be pretty cool. So,
Well, if I ever talk to him again, I'll let him know. I mean,
yeah, right.
you got those connections better than I do. I've met him when we were passing through in 2009, no, 2008, the year before the national championship year, and just, I mean, dude,
Mm,
just seems like a cool guy. Like I didn't talk to him, but we shook hands as they were walking up through the tunnel and stuff. And it's pretty neat, man. Just pretty cool. So I hope you get to do that, man, because I'm a fan of that for sure. But
appreciate it. Yeah, believe it or
um,
not, I to this day have never spoken to Joe Burrow.
dang.
I've never spoken to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
Well, I'm hoping
spoken to
that
his dad
happens,
many
dude.
times. I have his phone number. I've connected with his brothers, his dad,
Yeah.
his whole family except for him. But this all came after championship, then NFL,
Right.
and so
Right.
it's
He had a
tough.
lot going on
But
between
it
the
would be cool to
championship.
connect with
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hope that happens, dude. I hope that connection actually happens, man, because it's magical. Like that piece you created, like you said, man, it's magical. It really is. Like that's just one of the ones where, for people down here, that's gonna be your piece until you top it, man. So hopefully that'll happen when hopefully you'll get to do the trading card because that'll be really, really cool. So
yeah.
well, dude, man, I can't think of enough. I'm fanboying out a little bit because I got to meet or I got to talk to you like in person. So I really I say in person, but you know what I mean. So that's what in person is these days, right?
Close.
So but dude, I really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on and just sharing your knowledge with us, sharing a little bit about your business. If you could just tell everybody where they can find you in social media, web, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so my website is spectorsportsart.com. You can still find that Joe Burrow piece on there. I still sell that. My Instagram is at Spector_art. Same thing on Twitter. And then on Facebook is at Jordan Spector Art. And that's where I post everything. Website is where I release new projects that I do, that I create. And yeah.
Well, sweet. I will go ahead and I will link everything in the comment section on YouTube and then also in the podcast notes as well. So Jordan, man, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, sharing your time with us, man. Can't thank you enough. And man, continued success for you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, but well, thank y'all for listening to another episode of the Value Mortgage Guy podcast. We will see you guys next time.